All right, let's jump right into it. Today, we are digging into a paper that has been making some serious waves in the Web3 world. It's called Decentralized Society, Finding Web3's Soul, and it's by some big names, Pooja Alhaver, Glenn Whale, and, Vitalik Buterin. This thing lays out a really bold vision for what the internet could be, so let's unpack it. So, the whole thing kicks off with this really profound question, and it's this: what if the internet actually had a soul? I mean, really think about that. What if our digital identity wasn't just, a list of assets we own, but a reflection of who we actually are? The relationships we've formed, the trust we've earned over time. What would that look like?
Okay, so to really get why this soul idea is such a big deal, we've got to first look at the problem they're trying to solve. And it's a big one, what they call the soulless nature of Web3 as we know it right now.
Just think about it for a second. In Web 2, you know how it is, right? Our identity is basically locked up and controlled by huge corporations like Google or Facebook. So Web 3 comes along and promises this grand escape. But what did we get instead? Basically an entire ecosystem of anonymous wallets. It's become this world of just financial transactions, totally detached from any real human connection. It's missing all the stuff that makes our actual society function, things like trust, reputation, and, social identity.
And this really highlights the awkward truth about Web3 today. It's this incredibly powerful new technology that's, it's being propped up by the very same old, centralized systems it was supposed to replace. I mean, NFT artists, they're still building their reputations on Twitter and OpenSea. DAOs are using old-school social media profiles just to prove members aren't bots. And even DeFi, with all its crazy innovation, still can't do something as basic as an uncollateralized loan. Why? Because it has absolutely no way of knowing who it can trust.
So if Web3 is missing its soul, the big question is, how do we give it one? Well, the paper proposes these two fundamental building blocks to do just that: souls and soulbound tokens, or SBTs. Let's break down exactly what they mean by that. Okay, first up, souls. The easiest way to think about this is like a digital passport, but for your entire online life. It's a unique kind of wallet that is permanently and unchangeably yours. It's the place where all your credentials, your commitments, your memberships, all get stamped and verified right on the blockchain.
So what exactly are these stamps in your new digital passport? Those are the Soulbound Tokens, or SBTs. And here's the absolute key to the whole thing, the part that makes them so powerful. They are non-transferable. You can't just sell or give away your university degree, right, or your job history. It's the same idea. These tokens are given to your soul by other souls, say your university, your employer, maybe a conference you went to, and together they build this incredible, verifiable, on-chain resume of your actual life experiences.
This image here, it's the perfect snapshot of where Web3 is at right now. It's just a sea of anonymous wallets. Each one is basically an island. Totally isolated. Yeah, they can hold assets, but they're completely disconnected from any real social context. You have no idea who is behind that wallet, what their reputation is, or who they know.
But now, look at the difference. Once you introduce souls and SBTs, this fragmented world suddenly comes to life. All of a sudden, your soul becomes the central hub of connections. It's holding SBTs from your school, from events you've attended, from DAOs you're a member of, and all of that weaves together this rich, verifiable social fabric. Your identity stops being about what you own and starts being about who you are and the communities you belong to.
Okay, so we've got the building blocks, right? Souls and SBTs. But what can we do with them? What can we actually build? Now, this is where things get really, really interesting. Let's take a look at how this idea of on-chain reputation could completely transform the digital world.
So, the paper lays out what it calls a stairway to DeSoc, which is basically a path of ever-increasing possibilities. We're going to walk through 3 huge, game-changing steps on this path: how we can verify what's real, how we can finally enable lending based on trust, and how we can build way stronger online communities.
First, let's talk about art. Picture this: an artist mints an NFT, but they do it from their soul. Now, that soul isn't just some random wallet address. It's a living, breathing resume. It holds SBTs from the art schools they went to, the galleries they've shown in, their past collections. This creates what the paper calls social provenance. It's this rich, verifiable history that proves who the artist is and what their reputation is. And that is a massive weapon against fraud and, even deepfakes.
All right, next up is lending. And honestly, this is a huge one. This could be a fundamental shift away from a system based only on capital to one based on reputation.
For the very first time, your reputation could have actual, tangible financial value online. Your collection of SBTs from your education, your job history, maybe even your rental history could act as a kind of reputational collateral. And that could finally unlock uncollateralized lending in DeFi. It would create this transparent, bottom-up alternative to the opaque, centralized credit scores we're all stuck with today.
And finally, let's talk about DAOs. Soulbound tokens could be a total game changer for these online communities. Think about it. You can finally mitigate those pesky Sybil attacks because you can verify that every voter is a unique soul, not just another bot. You could even give more voting power to members who have SBTs that prove their expertise in a certain area. You could even design the system to discount votes from groups that are too closely correlated, which helps prevent collusion and groupthink. It just makes the whole system so much fairer and more robust.
So, when you take all these pieces, the souls, the SBTs, the applications like art and lending and DAOs, and you put them all together, what do you get? Well, you get the grand vision that's at the very heart of this paper, what they call a decentralized society, or DeSoc for short.
But what does DeSoc actually mean? The paper uses this phrase, a co-determined sociality. Now that sounds a little academic, but all it really means is a digital world where our relationships, our affiliations, our communities, they all have real, provable value. It's about building an ecosystem where people and communities can truly support each other, creating a new kind of society from the bottom up, all built on these networks of trust.
And that right there is really the key takeaway. This isn't just about making a slightly better version of the internet we already have. It's about something way bigger. It's about actually weaving our complex human social fabric, all that trust, those commitments, those communities, directly into the code of the internet itself. It's about finally bridging that gap between who we are in the physical world and who we are online. Now, of course, a vision this huge and ambitious, it's not going to be easy. It definitely doesn't come without challenges. In fact, there are some very real dangers we need to think about. So what's the path forward, and how do we navigate all the potential risks? And to be fair, the authors are incredibly upfront about the risks. There's this one quote in the paper that just says it all. Souls can go to heaven or hell. Because let's be real, a system that can represent our reputation so powerfully could absolutely be used for terrible things. It could automate discrimination, create the kind of social credit systems we all fear, or be used to enforce really restrictive top-down control. But, and this is a really important point the paper makes, while DeSoc has these potential dystopian futures we have to actively fight against, the other options might be even worse. They call them inevitable dystopias. I mean, Web 2 is already a world of top-down corporate surveillance. And today's DeFi, without this social layer, is just trending towards a world where a few whales have all the power. So DeSoc, with all its risks, at least offers a third path. It's a chance to try and build something fundamentally different. So, the obvious question is, how do you protect your privacy in a world where your reputation is on-chain? Well, this shows a really clever potential solution. The idea is you don't put all your sensitive info directly on the public blockchain. No way. Instead, you keep it in a private, off-chain data store. The only thing that goes on-chain is a cryptographic hash, which is just a unique digital fingerprint of that data. That way, you can prove you have a certain credential without having to actually reveal what it is to everyone. You stay in complete control of who sees your private information.
Look, if there's just one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. DeSoc is really about making a conscious choice. It's a choice to deliberately program our sociality, all our trust, our relationships, our communities, right into the fabric of the internet. The alternative is letting it all be controlled by big centralized platforms, or watching it get reduced to nothing more than a bunch of financial assets. This is about choosing a different path.
And that really brings us to the final, ultimate question that the paper leaves us with. And this isn't just some technical problem for developers to solve. It's a social and a political challenge for every single one of us. How do we build a digital world that is genuinely resilient to being captured or extracted from or dominated by any single entity? That is the question DeSoc is asking. And you know what? The future of the entire internet might just depend on our answer.